And now to the race for the powerful and prestigious posts of Speaker and Deputy Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives and the current calculations about who the clear favorites are. The leading candidates appear to be two members of the All Progressives Congress or APC party, Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kalu. Their prime candidacy received a boost today from a multi-party group of members-elect led by Ikenga Ugochinyere, spokesperson for the opposition Coalition of United Political Parties or CUPP. That could be a blow to the other candidates, but of course the members-elect are not a monolithic constituency, so today's endorsement may end up not changing the equation dramatically. In other words, there could still be wiggle room for the challengers to fight to overcome their deficit of support. So in those circumstances, we could say that victory is in the sights for Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kalu, but not yet in their grasp. And that with the endorsement of Ikenga Ugochинyere's alliance and numerous other multi-party groups, they seem destined to fend off the challengers and beat the gauntlet.
I do not speak for myself alone. I speak for the 63 like-minded honorable members-elect of the opposition family, who have agreed on a common vision for the 10th Assembly. We will transform to the TBK group the Tajudeen Ben Kalu movement for national unity, stability and inclusive parliament. Our 63 votes without any dissent will go for Honorable Tajudeen Abbas for Speaker and Benjamin Kalu for Deputy Speaker in the coming days. Nigerians will come to know the identity of the TBK group and will also feel our impact in the coming days. It is on this note that I call on my fellow colleague members-elect who are still in the race for speakership and deputy speakership to stop and join the prefect of the class, Honorable Tajudeen Abbas, and his deputy, Benjamin Kalu, to steer the ship of the 10th Assembly to be the records of the other houses in performance and achievement for Nigeria. I saw a man who would preserve the identity of the parliament while offering the opportunity for a harmonious executive legislature relationship. I saw an educated man, one who understood the need for modern-day legislation.
Ikenga Ugochinyere, who's a member-elect for the House of Representatives, and for more on what he was saying, I'm joined now in the studio by Mr. Ugochinyere, member-elect of the House of Representatives and spokesperson for the opposition Coalition of United Political Parties, or CUPP. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
It didn't sound like you were speaking on behalf of the CUPP. I mean, I watched your entire sort of performance, your announcement earlier today. The CUPP appeared to be the platform that you use, but the observation seems to be that you were speaking for yourself.
Well, first of all, today I decided to personally state my stand on the issue of who becomes the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. And I had solidarity from cross-party alliance, from Labour Party, from different political parties, and we have a group we call Like Minds that will be transforming into the TBK group, and we'll have an event coming up next week. That's when you see the roll call of the people that make up the 62 group, but all are from the opposition. And our message is very simple, that these opposition votes is going to go to Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kalu.
Right, okay, well let me take you up on that. Tell us why you've chosen to support Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kalu as Speaker and Deputy Speaker, respectively, of the House of Reps.
It's very simple. Like I always, when I engage with most of the people who are running for Speaker and Deputy Speaker, I ask them about their CV, about their pedigree, where they worked, what they did when they were in the Parliament. Some of them have been there for 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms. I expect that the primary responsibility of a legislator is first to make law, apart from oversight and effective representation of their people. And when I went around, I came back and I discovered that among the people that were in the 9th Assembly that is ending, that Tajudeen Abbas has the highest number of bills, 74. And then the last session was about 43, so 100 and something. And as I speak to you now, President Mohamed Buhari has signed 21 of those bills into law. That is the greatest ever since 7th, 8th, and 9th. So if a man has been able to move 74 bills and have gotten about 21 of them signed into law, same with Benjamin Kalu has moved about 42 bills. And then when people say they don't know him, I say, in that case, you don't go to sitting. In that case, you don't watch parliamentary proceeding. Because how come you didn't see a man who moved 74 bills, first, second, third reading, committee level, and so on and so forth that happened? You couldn't see him there because he doesn't make noise. We have been able to achieve so much in terms of infrastructure, in terms of education, in terms of science and technology. Almost about 15 or 18 federal medical centers that he sponsored the bill. Those federal medical centers are working today. Well, when you had the removal of prison from the amendment of the Constitution to change it to correctional center, that was a bill moved by Benjamin Kal that the president signed into law. I said, in terms of the reason why we are here, which is the primary responsibility of the parliament, which is to make law, Tajudeen Abbas have no rival. He is like 200%. Same with Benjamin Khan. And then I looked at, calmness, humility, stability that he represents. And the past, you saw the trajectory of where he was coming from as a lecturer, marketing manager of a British Tobacco Company, to the time he worked as a lecturer for Nuhu Bamali Polytechnic, Kaduna State University, senior lecturer, a pioneer head of Department of Banking and Finance, before he ventured into politics under CPC and came to the House of Rep. And he chaired the Committee on Legislative Compliance. They drafted the rules that is guiding legislative compliance today. Then he came back again. He was in charge of solid minerals. He came back the third time. He's in charge of land transport. And you saw the infrastructure development and the support the Minister of Transport got in terms of rail and so on and so forth that we had in the country. And then I said, if you have a man that have excelled in terms of the primary responsibility, and they have been able to move bills that have affected the lives of over 26 states in the country, and then this man has, is accessible, you can approach him, you can reach him anytime, he's not controversial. Then, and I said, knowing fully well what we are going to see in the 10th National Assembly, irrespective of the fact that the APC have endorsed them. Before we even started working and looking towards supporting Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kal, the APC have not even come up with the zoning formula. But when I say we have a zoning formula that have on board inclusiveness, this inclusiveness is very, very important. You saw what happened under President Muhammad Buhari. You saw the tension in the country. You saw the confidence people are losing in the federation because of injustice and lack of fairness. And now you have an APC government. Even though I'm not a member of APC, I don't like them. But would that take away the fact that they have presented a man who has sponsored the highest bill ever? Would that take away the fact that have presented a young lawyer that have also sponsored bills that have changed our constitutional democracy, like Benjamin Kal? And then you have somebody that is a lawyer. You know the job of the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. He will be in charge of the Constitutional Amendment Committee. With the experience Kal have as a student leader when he left University of Calabar, to the time he worked with Ojuza Kalo as an advisor on local government, to the time he got elected to the parliament, he had the requisite experience to be able to pilot that job if given that opportunity.
Well, I mean, you've spoken about the need to promote the independence of the legislative arm of government. But given that these are the preferred candidates of the APC and are in fact said to have been nominated by the president-elect Bola Tinubu, are Abbas and Kal not more likely to be a cooperating arm of the executive rather than a check and balance?
It's about perception and what people used to have in the past. When we were in PDP, the party recommended David Mark. It doesn't mean that David Mark, when he was Senate president, ended up serving always at the appendage of the government. You need to understand the man Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kal, their character, their experience, their educational development. We don't understand that the parliament must be independent. And while striving to achieve that independence, there must be harmonious working relationship with the executive. And then we're going to be in chamber. You're not going to deliver the parliament at the table dinner of the president. That you must know. But there's a difference between, radical parliamentary activism and harmonious working relationship. I represented people from IDAT. I was given a list of things to go to Abuja and come back with. And in achieving that, we must find a way to work with the executive. That doesn't mean that we're going to surrender our independence to the executive.
So basically, you're getting rid of your activist hat and you're now putting on a more pragmatic hat, which is you've got to deliver for your constituents, and therefore you can't be activist all the time. You've got to make compromises.
I think it's a thin line here, and I want you to understand that I'm not dropping activism, but I'm trying to be reasonable here. I represent the people, and the people have expectations of what I should bring from parliament.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to go there with two guns as I'm entering the chamber for me to be able to achieve that. I will negotiate.
You're not? I'm disappointed.
No.
I thought you'd come in there with all guns blazing.
When issues that have to affect the interests of the people comes up,
Right.
I will always stand on the side of the people. But having stability and harmonious working relationship is key for me to be able to deliver on what I promised.
I completely agree with
Yes.
you, and I concede that point to you. But you did mention in the course of our conversation now that you were surprised that a lot of people didn't seem to know the pedigree, if you like, of Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kalu. In that context, is it likely that members of your group will not necessarily do as you say and vote for Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kalu? Because, I mean, they're not a monolithic constituency, are they? They have their own minds. And I'm wondering whether your endorsement is going to change the political scene or the equation dramatically or at all.
I think as of this evening, Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kalu has even exceeded the 181 votes required to win. I understand people trying to hide under the need to oppose the decision of the APC to achieve their own selfish interest. There is a line here because, for instance, if you say you don't want a Tajudeen Abbas and Benjamin Kalu, and you don't also want the Senate President going to the South, did you also choose another credible candidate from the Southeast or South? The answer is no. Now you want to have a situation where you will elect a particular person Speaker and Senate President, and then at the end of the day, we will deliberately have a Muslim President, a Muslim Vice President, a Muslim Senate President, a Muslim Speaker, a Muslim CJN. Is that necessary for consensus building for stability?
Well, they're not all Muslims.
Especially when the candidates that are leading have competence and character and capacity to deliver on the job. So why do you want to enthrone an atmosphere of confusion in the politics? And that is where I disagree with them. And I say the pay that we have is perfect with what we're going into. And at any point they deviate from parliamentary principles, then we'll have the numbers, we'll have the support of our colleagues, we'll definitely bring them back to track, because everybody in the parliament have the power to decide the fate of his people.
So that's the point I wanted to hear from you. You have told Abbas and Kalu that you would give them a hard rap on the knuckles if they go off the right path of rectitude.
Yes, because when I engage them, like I engage most of the people that run for Speaker in our group, we made it very clear that we don't want the independence of the parliament to be compromised. Neither do we want to be dragged into unnecessary, unhealthy fighting. We want harmonious working relationship. We want those bills that are dear to our people to be passed. We want those federal government intervention that are dear to our people to be passed. We also want issues of restructuring. Most people doesn't know. I sat for almost 3 hours with most of them, especially Abbas. I talked to him about the issue of restructuring, political restructuring, issues of having political stability in the country in terms of rotational presidency, economic reforms, and so on and so forth. He agrees 100% with that. I have most of those bills drafted. These are things that is dear to Nigerians and to our people. Because if you have an efficient nation, efficient republic that is working, everybody will benefit. And these are things that is very key. Most of the aspirants today are not discussing about their legislative agenda. He's the one that's discussing about legislative agenda, the things that he's going to do. And you can see it in the 8th, in the 9th, where he moved about 104 bills. Most of the people that is challenging Abbas today doesn't even have one bill to their name. And I asked the question, if you were elected to represent the people for a period of almost over 16 years or thereabout, you didn't move one bill, you didn't even support one motion. And I asked myself, do you have the legislative capacity to preside in this modern day time that we need modern day legislation that will help to bring people interest-driven legislation that will bring development to the country? And that is why I said, look beyond the issue of the people that brought them forward. Had it been that they said, okay, because they are coming from APC, we're going to choose different set of people from those areas. It's different, but you're not doing that. You want to go back and choose a system that will ensure exclusion. And I say it's wrong, especially when the people have competence. That competence, you don't throw it away. And that's why I said, I have been on our side. I've been in opposition. I have been in government. I've seen it all. And I know what we need at this moment. We need somebody that have the legislative competence to drive the 10th National Assembly. And Tajudeen and Benjamin Kalu have it.
Well, you have often spoken about fairness. And I mean, fairness is a sort of watchword of your political focus. What about someone like Miriam Onuoha, the only woman to declare her intention to run for Speaker, who seems to have the right qualification and is a ranking member of the House? And she's also from your state, Imo State. Why aren't you supporting her bid in a country that clearly needs to increase the representation of women in elective positions? Or you don't think she has enough in the tank to do justice to the job?
I think here I must be honest with you. She is my sister. First of all, she started by she wanted to run for speaker. Along the line, she wanted to run for deputy speaker. The other moment, she was with Adodogowa. The other moment, she's with Bechera and the G7 and the G6. The next moment, she's with another camp. And then we go to meetings and we say, we are interested in the deputy speaker coming to our zone. That's the least we can take if we're not getting speaker. And then you say you don't want a deputy speaker. So if we proceed like we have done now, to accept the deputy speaker that is zoned to our people in the same joint ticket with Abbas, if she can be able to pull it through as a speakership aspirant, so be it. But I can tell you that the party where she belongs, because it's an intra-party issue that we don't want to get involved, their party have brought a zoning formula and brought candidates.
Yeah, she's in the APC.
Yes, and we have looked at what the party put on the table. Right. And we looked at the realistic options for our people. That now they have Benjamin Kal, who is qualified, and have Tajudeen, who is qualified. Most of our colleagues believe that we'll go that route. And there's nothing wrong with that. And the most important is that up to this moment, she still says that she's running for speaker, that she's not running for deputy speaker. Then tomorrow again, she personally called me, I have to be frank with you, when I moved the motion for Benjamin Kanu to be adopted as the sole candidate for the Southeast treasure suit when we had the Southeast caucus meeting. She called me and said, why do I move that motion? I said, but you said you want to be speaker. So as of this moment, there is an identity issue to her aspiration, where this moment she's running for speaker and the other moment she's running for deputy speaker. And also the camp that she belongs to have not also come out clearly to say they want to take an Igbo person as a deputy speaker. They are still hobnobbing with people from South, with people from Southwest, meaning that if care is not taken, they may rob the Southeast of even the deputy speaker that is zoned to the Southeast. So if those people are honest, they should put the Igbo issue on the table and say, I am going to run with an Igbo deputy. But they are still hobnobbing with those who are running for deputy speaker in Southwest, in South. And that puts our people at risk. And that's why we said on the table we have a deputy speaker coming from the other side of APC. Unless we have an offer that is higher than that, then we'll go for it.
Right.
But if we don't have an offer higher than deputy speaker, why are we going to throw that one away and join an opposition that will not see a Muslim president, a Muslim vice, a Muslim speaker, a Muslim senate president, a Muslim CJ? I don't think it's fair.
Right, okay, well, I'll leave that for the moment. I want to get a sense of what your plans are now that you've won the election, that you really battled to win. I mean, you've described yourself as the 10th agenda leader. What does that mean?
We have been discussing among ourselves, and we came to the conclusion that the 10th National Assembly should be about people's agenda, people's interest-driven legislation. There is also growing loss of public confidence in the parliament, because over time, most of the things that comes out of the parliament has not truly reflected the interests of the people. And now going with the achievement that have been made in the 9th Assembly, that the 10th Assembly should focus on legislation that will help us solve challenging national problems. You see today, there is economic problem, there is rising poverty, there is disunity, there is religious division, there is cries for fairness and justice and lack of merit in appointment, and the republic is not functioning because the system is over-bloated. We said, first of all, we must find a way to work on reducing the cost of running government. The cost of running government is so high. Using the instrument of the legislature, we can look at some of these ministries that are just consuming money, of these agencies that are not doing anything, find a way to merge some of them and make them efficient. We must also look at the federating laws to see how we can empower states to engage in some of the activities that can bring healthy competition so that every state can be productive. We talked about this economic balance in the issues of the tax laws, the VAT laws. These things are controversial issues that people keep running away from. The issues of resource control, how do we get that, mining rights and so on and so forth, so that people, some state government, like you saw what the 9th Assembly have done, the issues of rail, that intra-rail system that the states cannot start. Most state government now can build their own rail system and so on and so forth. Generating power. These are things that have not been there. People don't want to touch those areas. That we must find a way to solve it. So we can have energy, we can have equal participation, we can have a federating unit that all the component parts have all the legal instruments to be able to work on them. And again, political stability. That if we don't solve the issue of the political stability, power sharing, we keep having this problem. That why don't we once and for all have rotational presidency so the power can rotate between North and South enshrined in our constitution, and the issue of succession can be settled down to even the state, or rotation of power between the the senatorial zones, so that we can get past those things that used to distract us and move to the next
that's
stage.
a very interesting agenda that you've got. It's very inspirational, and it gives a lot of hope, but we'll have to see how it pans out. But I'm curious to know what your thoughts are so far, having got in, because you faced incredible odds in your bid to win your seat in the House of Reps, including threats to your life, attacks on your person, your home, your relatives, and your aides, with some actually losing their lives. But after that, what was an impossibly challenging campaign, you won the Idato federal seat in the House of Representatives. So now that you're in there, what are your thoughts about the politics and so on?
I think that...
and what you can do with it?
First of all, most of these things are overrated. And also, people destroying, killing people, bastardizing the electoral system, it doesn't want it. That's what I'm saying. And also, the system is messed up. It will require a lot of deep foundational strength for you to be able to change it. The electoral system is going bad. The political system is going bad. Every sector is going bad. So there will be foundational attack to find a way to rebuild them. So I'm even seeing how we're going to do this. And then when we have these things that divide us, religion, ethnicity, and so on and so forth, how will we be able to get past this stage for us to be able to lay the foundation to be able to change the country, to make it to work? Because today, the country is not working, and the insecurity is waning so much, and the poverty level is rising. So when I got in, I discovered that a lot needs to be done. And there is this, I don't know how to put it, people are getting used to crime in Nigeria, even in government. So there are times, like I used to say, every part of Nigeria looks like it's a crime scene. Now, evil things that are bad are celebrated. People will do all sorts of iniquities and get away with it, bastardize the entire system. So it will require also a national commitment. People have to cite their conscience and say, let's try to make Nigeria to work. It's not about the political leaders, it's about every actor in the system, both the citizens, both everybody must decide that let's try and see how we can make it to work, because it involves everybody, both even the clerk, both the politicians, both the judges. You can see today, the whole world is watching the judiciary today. There are elections that were announced with results that are both Beavers accreditation. The world wants to see how these issues are resolved. So the mess is deep from what I'm seeing, and it will require patriotism, sacrifice for all of us to be able to lay the foundation that will give room for this problem to be solved.
Well, we're looking to you and to people like yourself in the National Assembly to see what difference you can make. But I want to thank you very much indeed. Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere, member-elect of the House of Representatives and spokesperson for the opposition coalition of United Political Parties, the CUPP. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.